DIY is a really dangerous situation for small business, trying to understand and be an expert in all areas. It's things like keeping your own books, making your own tax decisions. It's human resources, legal questions. You have an obligation to understand what they are doing. It's against your best interest to do it yourself.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor.
Hello, Cash Flow Contractors. It's me again, Martin, by myself. I certainly enjoy this more when Khalil's with me. He's a great conversationalist, but he's not. I think if you don't know when this will air, but he had a baby. Actually, his wife had a baby. And so he's really blessed. So he's taken a couple of weeks off to be home with his family, and I think that's the correct and proper thing to do. So anyway, since it's just me, I would always prefer to do these where somebody were asking me questions. I don't have that luxury today. But one of the things that's come up recently with a lot of my clients is the concept of DIY, do it yourself. I know we've talked about this in the past, but DIY is a really dangerous situation for small business. I'll give you some examples. But I'll start by saying, why do I think people do it? And what am I talking about? DIY means trying to understand and be an expert in all areas. That's basically what it says. It's things like keeping your own books, making your own tax decisions and filling out your own tax forms. It's human resources. It's legal questions. It's IT. Perhaps corporate regulation, corporate governance, a lot of times. These are all areas that are managed by highly skilled people, or they have practitioners who are highly skilled. And to use one of them in order to avoid having to do it yourself, you don't always have to hire them as a full-time employee. You can generally get part-time bookkeepers, part-time HR people, or contract, let's call them, HR people, contract IT people. You certainly have an attorney who will read your lease agreement and other documents for you rather than just doing it yourself. Why do people do that? I think the primary reason is to avoid spending money. And I don't have to use all the platitudes, but you can pay me now or you can pay me later, right? If you use an attorney, and I think to demonstrate my point, I had some examples of things that had happened to clients of mine that I compiled some time ago, but I think they're worth going through. One of them, and probably my most vivid illustration, was a former client who, she's still in business, not a client, but she had a number of employees who she operated as 1099 contractors. And she thought and took the advice of an insurance salesman who told her, oh yeah, you can get workers' comp. They can get their own workers' comp. You don't have to do it. Well, turned out that the state of Oklahoma, where reside Workers' Compensation Board, disagreed with that. And she got a letter one morning, which I have a copy of, and the right to show it, but I won't use her name, that said, Dear Blank, we found you to be in noncompliance for 1,154 days. Maximum fine allowable is $1,000 per day for $1,154,000 potential fine. Well, my client at the time was doing about $300,000 a year in sales. So you can imagine she was stressed a little bit. Now the guy said, you've been cooperative and you're in compliance now. We'll knock it down to $43,000, I think. $43,000, which she paid. But that was a $43,000 hit, not to mention the near heart attack that she had. That would have been unnecessary had she talked to the right people about what you can and cannot do with both 1099s and workman's comp. Another guy, this one was really relying on his own judgment, decided that he did enough what qualified as farming that he would claim his business as a farming operation and therefore not have to pay overtime. Well, I wasn't familiar that farmers don't have to pay overtime. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But this guy took his own advice and he was wrong. It would cost him $21,000 because the guy he wasn't paying overtime to turned him into the state. Turns out he wasn't a farming operation. It cost him $21,000. I had another business owner that decided it would be way easier to pay people as a 1099 contractor rather than a W-2 employee. Now, we've all heard this discussion before. People want to pay people as a 1099 contractor because they don't have to pay overtime. They don't have to track their hours. They don't have to withhold taxes. They don't have to match taxes. And they don't have to make all those payroll deposits. So that's why, generally, people want to use a 1099 contractor. Those are the same reasons the IRS doesn't want you to do 1099 contractors. They want you to do W-2, where you have to match the payroll, keep track, report, make the withholdings and turn them in. All the stuff that everybody just loves about doing payroll. Well, there's a common, you ask anybody you know who's using 1099s, frequently, not always, frequently they will say, hey, he's got his own truck. She's got her own tools. No, that's not going to be quite enough. I will direct you towards Form IRS SS8 and let you look for yourself. But there's an interesting little exception in there, qualification. There are a whole bunch of them. But one of them is who provides supplies and materials to the job. Are the 1099 person's expenses reimbursed by the firm? Can the worker request advance pay? Here's my favorite one. Does the worker take financial risk performing the services? Right? That means, can he suffer, and it spells that out here, can he suffer a financial loss by performing the services? If you think about a lot of the people who run 1099s, they would honestly have to answer that. No, I'm paying them and they're doing the work. If things get messed up, I don't short pay them.
Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode.
So what happens? Okay, so you're doing that. Well, I have an example here of a guy who did that. He didn't know the final tally, but he asked, who was it? I don't remember who caught him, but he got entered, or IRS chased him down. And the penalties for misclassifying contractors are $50 for each W-2 not filed, 1.5% of the total wages paid, 40% of the employee's FICA taxes, okay? 100% of the FICA tax match, a 0.5% penalty for the unpaid tax liability each month, up to 25% of the total tax liability. Now, in this case, his case is unresolved, but at the time, his best estimate is that it's going to cost him over $100,000. So it's worth it to not mess that up. And what I tell people, the temptation is great because it's simple and it's cheaper to hire 1099. But go out there, do it right, raise your prices, control your costs, and make money doing it properly so you're not always looking over your shoulder. And my last, I have two more. One of my former clients started a second business, which wound up jumping up into the millions of dollars within a year and a half. Well, he put it together with a former friend of his, I say former, and they put together a little LLC. They wanted to save money, so they got their LLC done online. Well, there came an argument about when the money showed up. There came an argument where the guys were talking about who was going to put up how much money for what percent, and it wasn't very well spelled out in their 1099. And thus far, they're not speaking to each other except in court, and he's already spent $15,000 in attorney's fees, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be. So you can go to a website or you can go to a competent attorney and get it done right. And the last one is one of my favorites, something I never knew about. But I had a contractor, a subcontractor, working for a contractor. And he learned out what the meaning of the word inferred is. When he was a plumbing contractor and he did all the bathrooms and fixtures in this multi-story building in the apartments and offices. The general contractor came back and said, no, you got to get it all the way down to the main sewer line. And he said, no, I didn't. It's not mentioned in the contract. Well, they took it to court, and it turns out the mention of plumbing can reasonably inferred to mean I will take it all the way to the sewer line. Well, it wound up costing this guy, I don't know, about $75,000 that he hadn't expended or planned to spend. So that's just another case that if he'd taken his contract to a competent contractor attorney, he would have possibly known that in advance. So anyway, in skilled issues, well, the last thing about doing it yourself too is if you're doing your books and your HR and your IT and your legal, you're probably not doing a very good job. And why would you? All of those are highly skilled jobs. People get trained in them. They have experience in them. And your training and experience is elsewhere. It's in what you do for a living. So being consistent, you go do what you do for a living, what you do best. Hire experts to do these highly skilled positions. You have an obligation to understand what they're doing, but you don't have an obligation. Matter of fact, it's against your best interest to do it yourself. So anyway, that's why I speak against DIY. I hope maybe that warns somebody who at some point there will decide I'm not going to do that anymore. Okay, we'll see you next time.
You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory, it's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. Would love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out The Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.